Well, who is ready to get in the Word this morning?
Amen.
Amen. Well, as Brother Victor was saying earlier, we have been talking about what love is. Because we started this whole series because it was Valentine's Day, and we kind of continued on this series for the whole month of February. But we talked about what love is by looking at 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8. We looked at what it says about what love is, and last week we started talking about what love is not. And we only got about not even halfway through all that. So we're bringing that back this week, and we're going to continue on part 2 of what love is not. So now your spouse can get after you and say, "You're really not loving me today when you're angry at me." So we're going to be looking at part 2 of what love is not. And by the end of this month, we're getting to the end, you're going to hear a whole lot about love. We got to say it like that, right? Love. Love. So if you're ready, we're going to turn to 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8. It says, "Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it'll pass away. But as it says before, love will never fail." So we asked ourselves a while ago, a couple of weeks ago, we've been asking ourselves, do I love like this? Do I love as 1 Corinthians 13 describes? Do I love like this in my relationship with my husband? Do I love like this in my relationship with my wife? Do I love like this in my relationship with my kids? Do I love like this with my relationship with my parents? Do I love like this in my friendships? And lastly, do I love like this in my relationship with God? We talked about how Paul gives us a recipe for love that will never fail. But it is our job to follow that recipe, right? In chapter 13, we see that what love is. So we talked about how love is patient. Oh, that word, we just love it, don't we? Love is patient. We talked about how love is kind, and oftentimes we overcomplicate that, when really what it means is being useful, helping people, being kind. And then jumping ahead, it says love rejoices in truth. Love always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. And it always perseveres. Love never fails.
Thank you.
So last week we got through about half, not even, I'm giving myself good credit there, about half of the attributes of what love is not. We talked about how envy is all about being consumed with someone else's life. But that's not what love is about. Whereas boasting is all about making the world know about my life. It's being boastful. But that's not what love is about either. And then being proud is finding your identity or importance in things you are associated with. And that certainly is not love either. So going back to verse 4, it says, "It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, and it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. So we're going to pick up where we ended last week in verse 5. It says, love does not dishonor others. Now the New King James Version, it says, love does not behave rudely. I always like to see the difference in the translations and how they choose the words. But dishonor means to disgrace, to bring reproach or shame, or to stain the character of someone, to lessen their reputation. Now we see that this is not what love is about. Real love doesn't bring dishonor to someone. It doesn't lessen their reputation. It doesn't stain their character. Love does not dishonor others. You know, as a culture, we've kind of formed this ideology that we have taught our kids, we've taught our daughters, if a boy is mean to you, if a boy picks on you, it means that he likes you. Now, I don't know why we formed that ideology or that theology that means someone likes you, when biblically it says love does not dishonor someone. We should be teaching our sons and our kids and our daughters not to dishonor someone, not to pick on someone, not to be mean to someone to show that you like them, because that is not what true love is. Now, it's not just about teaching our kids, but it's a reminder for us as well, as older folks. Yes, I'm putting myself in your category this morning. It's for us older folks to not only love like this in our relationships with our significant others, but when we meet people in our day-to-day interactions. See, where there is love, there is always kindness and good manners. Love does not dishonor others. It's when you're out and about and you're at the grocery store and someone's taking a long time. Do you roll your eyes? Do you mutter something under your breath? Love does not dishonor others. And once again, if we look at the life of Jesus, when he met people who were sick, when he met people who were poor, when he met people who sinned, when he met people that people thought were not valued, when he met people that did not have a good reputation, he never once dishonored them. He never once behaved rudely to them, because that is not what love is. Now we can ask ourselves, when we meet someone that we know has a bad reputation because we've heard the stories about them, do we let that cloud our judgment on them, or do we choose to love them despite that? See, love does not dishonor others, which means that we shouldn't be staining someone else's reputation with our thoughts and being consumed by gossip. Now, when we meet someone who is homeless on the street, do we avoid them like the plague? Or do we show love to them? Because their life is very different from us. But Jesus always chose to honor people, and we should do the same. Just maybe because they don't have a home, they don't have a job, they might have a drug addiction, whatever it may be, we should not choose to dishonor them and treat them any different, because Jesus wouldn't. You see, when we look in the Bible and we see that Jesus went to all these people and he honored them and he didn't discredit them, we also see the people who did. Do you know who the people were that turned them away? Do you know who they were that didn't treat them with honor? Do you know who gossiped or talked about their reputation? It was the religious people that did. Now let that sink in for a minute. Jesus, the Son of God, treated people better than the religious people did. The moment that someone sick walked in the room, oh no, they weren't allowed allowed to be there because they were not worthy. The moment that a prostitute would come near them, oh no, you didn't want to get tainted. The religious people brought dishonor to people, but Jesus always brought honor.
Yes.
You know why? Because Jesus wasn't about religion, he was all about relationships.
Yes.
He always extended love, he always extended honor to everyone he interacted with, from the oldest to the youngest. He said, let the little children come. Jesus chose to honor and to extend love in every interaction. And that's why a lot of religious people at that time, they got upset with him. They thought, why are you letting those people into your presence? Do you not know what she did? Do you not know what disease that person has? They let those things cloud them and ultimately divide them from actually loving those people. Jesus always chose to love, and his love always brought honor to people. See, love is actionable. It's not just a feeling. Like everybody thinks that love is a feeling that we have. When we meet someone in our heart, go, that's not what love is about. Sometimes it is when you meet the right person, but that's not what we're talking about. Love is actionable. See, how we treat people echoes how we love people. Let me say that one more time. How we treat people echoes how we love people.
Yes. Amen.
So what does your echo say about you? Are we loving in a way that brings dishonor to people? Or are we loving in a way that brings honor? That is an example of how Jesus loved people. You see, we've been saying this the last 2 weeks. The one way we can strive for that perfect kind of love in our life is to strive to be like Jesus, because he is what love is. Love does not dishonor others. Now, the second attribute of what love is not, we are going to be talking about today, is love is not self-seeking. We kind of already touched on that a bit last week, and how time and time again, we see that the life of Jesus was found serving others. He was found healing others. We see that his ministry revolves around others. Therefore, if that really is what love is about, as Paul describes in 1 Corinthians, is a heart that is when consumed by love, by this kind of love, the focus is outward, not inward. Love is not self-seeking. See, that's what the world has taught us. That love is all about you, how you feel, what you get out of it. But the biblical kind of love, it says, no, it's not about you. Who cares about you? It is not about you. Love should not be what I can get out of it, but what can I give? It's an outward expression, not an inward one. Love is not self-seeking. Now, you know that I'm not married, right? I ain't even in a relationship. But something that I understand about marriage, a marriage takes two people. Wow, mind-blowing, right? A relationship, it takes two people. And the same is with love. It takes two people for love to actually work. Because it ain't about you. You can't love yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get a big head and you won't go through the door. But love takes two people to adequately show the attributes that Paul is talking about in 1 Corinthians. Love ain't about you, it's about the other person. We see that love is not self-centered. And Paul communicates the same idea in Romans 12, verse 10. It says, in honor giving preference to one another. What does that mean? means honoring someone else, their preference, instead of what really you want. Again, also Paul comes with the same idea in Philippians 2, verse 4. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others. Love is not self-seeking. See, doing this, by understanding that love is not about you, this is the most basic way that you can be like Jesus. Because being an other-centered person instead of being a self-centered person is ultimately being like Jesus. And that is what love is. So we talked about how Jesus' whole ministry was about others. And therefore, if God calls you to ministry, if God calls you to love someone, which yes, we all are called to love people. We are all called to different ministries. Therefore, it should be all about them and not about you. You know, we see many pastors that, they walk with an air. Like, I am the pastor. They got the lights, they got the thing, they make everything look perfect. And sometimes it's all about them when it's not supposed to be all about them. You know, a shepherd is supposed to smell like a sheep, not smell like a Mercedes. Now I say that all in love because that's what love should be. Now if we look at the word love, we notice that there is no I in love. Therefore, it's not about you. But there is an ooh. There is an ooh in there. And what that ooh means, it means it's about you. My love should be about you, not I, but you. Love is not self-seeking, and it's just as simple as that. This morning, I don't want to overcomplicate it because we tend to do that. When we read something in the Bible, we're like, oh, we got to check the theology. Oh, we got to do this. We got to see the definition. We overcomplicate something, but God is saying today, it's just as simple as this. Love is not self-seeking. But this morning, what I want us to do is I want us to examine our love. As I said earlier, the world has taught us that love is all about what we get, our desires, what our interests are, what we can get out of that, what can satisfy our needs. But contrary to what the world teaches us, the Bible teaches us that love is not about what we can get, but what we can give. So do I love that way in my life? When I meet people, do I meet them to say, well, what can you give me? Or do I meet someone saying, what do you need? What can I give to you? How can I help you? Because love is not self-seeking. And one way we can strive for that perfect kind of love in our life is to strive to be like Jesus, because he is what love is. And he was always selfless. Now, the third attribute of love, we're going to go fast today because I'm running out of time. But we're going to go fast, so bear with me and make sure your ears are on. The third attribute of love, of what love is not, we will be talking about today. And all the married people love this one. Love is not easily angered. In other translations, it says, love is not easily provoked. It is not irritable. Yeah. I love this one too. But what I want to start off today talking about this one by saying is that every day we have a choice. Every day we have a choice that we can choose on how we react that day. We can choose to react in anger. We can choose to be provoked. We can choose to be irritated. Or we can choose to react in love. We have that choice. See, you are literally the only one that can determine how you can react to a situation. Well, no, DR, you don't understand. Well, so-and-so said this, so it justified me getting angry at them. No, doesn't matter. You are the only one that can determine how you react in a situation. Well, you don't understand, so-and-so kept doing this and it kept pushing my buttons. No, I don't care. It does not matter. You are the only one that can determine how you can react in a situation. That is as simple as it can get. It's as simple as looking at a light switch. All it does is go on and off, on and off. You can either choose love, anger, love, anger. You have that choice every day. Either you wake up and you show up in the world full of love, or you show up being grumpy, like Grumpy, one of the 7 dwarfs. We have the choice to make others feel seen or valued, or we can choose to make them feel uncomfortable and devalued by the way that we treat them, by the way that we react. It is our choice. And sometimes, most of the time, right, it's easier to choose to be grumpy or to be angry. It's easy to be provoked, and it's easier to be irritated by someone driving you crazy. But we are not benefiting ourselves if we choose that. And we certainly are not benefiting those around us by choosing to be angry or to be provoked or to be irritated. But when we choose love instead, we benefit ourselves. We benefit those around us. Because we see that when we choose to be provoked or to react in anger, ultimately we are sinning. Wow, right? But yes, ultimately we are sinning because we see that Moses, he was provoked by the people of Israel, and therefore he wasn't able to enter into the promised land. See, when we choose to be angry or provoked, we are then hindering ourselves from reaching the destination that God has for us. When we let anger or envy or any of these things that we have been talking about what love is not, or being not like Jesus into our life, we are ultimately hindering ourselves and are causing a barrier between us and God, just like Moses did. We see that Jesus always chose to show up in love. Now, do we choose that same decision as well? Do we make that same choice every day we wake up and our husband's driving us crazy? Do we wake up when life is not going the way it is? You've slept in and you're already irritated because your alarm didn't go off. So the next person you meet, you just blow their head off. See, we very seldom see Jesus react in anger or be irritated, and yet it would have been really, really justified if he did. You know, I love the story about Jesus flipping over the tables in the temple. I love that story. Because sometimes you just need to flip a table, you know? But that may be one of the only times we really saw Jesus angry. But most of the time we see Jesus extending love. And he always chose to show up in love. Because Jesus, our love story, is not easily provoked. So do you show up in love, as I said, when your spouse is driving you crazy? Do you show up in love when the waitress messes up your order? Do you show up in love when someone cuts you off in traffic? Yeah, that one gets us all, doesn't it, from time to time? Do you show up in love when someone has a different opinion than you? See, love is not easily angered. Then what is love then? Love is choosing to love your spouse even when they drive you crazy. Love is choosing to love the waitress even though she messed up your order for the third time. Love is choosing to love that person who cut you off in traffic, even when you meet up with them at the red light. Love is choosing to love someone despite our differences. See, when we choose to love in these situations, we are then therefore choosing to be like Jesus. Jesus always chose to show up in love. And this past week, I was talking to Alex and Antonowicz, if I'm saying that correctly. And he was saying, like, all our world needs is more love. And I said, I absolutely agree. There is so much division in our world that if we just chose to love people instead of letting the differences in our opinions divide us, imagine what our world would be like. Then maybe it would feel like heaven on earth. Because we ultimately would be being like Jesus. Our world needs so much love, and the only way it's going to get it is if we choose to show up in love.
Yes.
One way we can do that is by striving for that perfect kind of love in our life, to strive to be like Jesus, because he is what love is. So love does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, and it is not easily angered. Love does not keep a record of wrongs. Literally, this means that love does not store up a memory of any wrong it has received. Love will put away the hurts of the past instead of clinging onto them. You know, we as people, we tend to hold on to the things that people have done to us, right? We let them take up space in our memory. We let them take up storage in our life and in our heart. Therefore, we think about that person, and all that we can think about that person is what they did wrong to us. You know, when we think about that person that did something wrong to us, we remember the day that it happened. It was 10 years ago on a Tuesday. And they were wearing a blue shirt, and they said this to me. See, we let those things take up harbor in our hearts, therefore taking up room for us to adequately love them. Love does not keep record of wrongs. But we as people, we tend to get consumed by the record of wrongs we hold against them, which causes an interference with us adequately loving them, right? We let that list of this person hurt me, and this person did this, and they did this, oh, but they did it again, and this and that. We let that list cause a divide between us and them. Yet Paul is saying that when we truly love people, we take that list of what they did, we take it and we go, we rip it up. Love doesn't keep record of it. It doesn't say, I can't trust you because you did this. Love doesn't keep record of it. See, it's important when dealing with people that may have wronged us that we use wisdom. Hear me say that. We got to use wisdom. We got to acknowledge that they may have hurt us and guard ourselves from getting wronged again. Absolutely. But we can't hold those things against them. We can't keep bringing out that list and saying, well, I told you, see, look, you did it then, you'll do it again. No, that is not what love is. And there's a quote that says, holding unforgiveness in your heart towards someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. All you're doing by holding that unforgiveness or keeping that record of wrongs in your life is causing you harm more than them. They don't care. they don't remember what they did to you. The holding on forgiveness in your heart is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Love does not keep a list of the wrong things they did to us. I want to ask you this morning, has anybody here ever made a mistake? Raise your hand. Has any of us ever hurt someone's feelings, either intentional or unintentional? How many of us have ever broken the law by speeding? How many of us have ever lied to someone, either in love or not? See, if you answered at least yes to one of these questions, you have wronged someone else. Whether it's that person you lied to or the law that you broke, you have literally wronged someone. Now, what if that person decided that they were going to hold you accountable for that wrong in their life? How would it make you feel? It really wouldn't make you feel loved, would it? Because that's not what love is. Love does not keep record of wrongs. And Jesus, he does exactly that with us. No matter how many times we mess up, make mistakes, or sins, he is always ready to receive you with extended arms full of love, ready to wash the slate clean. Yes. Therefore, if he can do that for us, we can do that for other people as well. See, Jesus literally came to the earth to live, to die, to erase our records of wrongs. And that is the true definition of love. It ain't that Valentine's Day kind of pink, fluffy heart-shaped chocolate boxes kind of love. It is a love that never fails, a sacrificial love. It is a love like Jesus. It is an agape kind of love. You know, an agape kind of love is a love that loves without changing. It is self-giving love that gives without demanding or expecting repayment. It is a love so great that it can be given to the unlovable or unappealing. It is love that loves even when you are rejected. Agape love gives and loves because it wants to. It does not demand or expect repayment from the love given, but it gives because it loves. It does not love in order to receive, but it can be defined as a sacrificial, giving, absorbing kind of love. The word has little to do with emotion, but it has much to do with self-denial for the sake of another. Love ain't about emotion, but it is about self-denial for the sake of another, just like Jesus did for us. And one way we can strive for that perfect kind of love in our lives is to strive to be like him. Because he is the greatest and only example of true love. And as we finish up this series this morning, my final question for you today is, do I really love like this? Is my love for people a mirror image of Christ's love for me? As Victor said this morning, we are to love because Christ loved us first. And some days, most days, we really aren't deserving of that love, but he still chooses to love us. So we should still choose to love those people in our lives as well. May that be our spouse. May that be our kids. May that be our parents. May it be our friends. May it be that stranger down the street. May it be that homeless person. We should always choose to love them because that is what God has called us to do. Let's bow in prayer this morning. God, we come to you today because you love us. And you always receive us with open arms. God, we are asking you today to help us to love those around us. God, our world desperately needs love. And may it start with us. May it start with the people at the family church, that we would be a walking example to our neighbors, to our country, to our city, that we edify your love through us. Lord, may we choose every day to show up in love. May we not choose anger or to be irritated or to be provoked, but may we show up in love, edifying your love that you have for us, God. So God, when we go forth today, help us to embody the characteristics of you, Jesus. Help us to love people with a patient kind of love, with a kindness kind of love. Help us to love people with a 1 Corinthians 13 kind of love. That we may not strive to get something out of it, but that we might strive to give all that we have, Jesus, because that's exactly what you did for us. So God, continue to empower us to love the unlovely people of the world, because our world desperately needs your love to be evident in it. So today we give you all the honor and all the glory this morning, because you deserve it all. And all of God's people says, Amen.